started and see what we'll be doing today. We're looking at, obviously the whole thing of this is talking about promotional techniques. So what we're actually going to do today is to look at a little bit more detail in each of those that are available, what particular methods of sales promotions there are. And in this, we're also going to be looking at the difference between business to consumer and business to business. As I mentioned yesterday, or well, when I recorded yesterday, so last week's class, by the time you're watching this probably, there were differences of at what point the promotion is done, whether it's done direct to the consumer from the manufacturer, whether it's done from the manufacturer to the intermediary, maybe the salespeople that are then going on to sell it, or when it's done from the intermediary to the consumer. So we'll be looking at different methods of that today. Marketing activities as a whole, basically advertisements today, can be divided into three different segments. What we call above the line, ATL, below the line, BTL, and through the line marketing, TTL. The line was originally used to separate marketing activities which had mass penetration, in other words, those above the line, to those of which had specific penetration, those below the line. But then, because of increased competition and development technology emerging through different marketing activity, it kind of blurs the line a bit. And in some cases, we use both above the line and below the line in advertising activities. So looking at the difference between ATL, BTL, TTL advertising, these activities can be differentiated on the basis of marketing motives, target groups, and the budget of the marketer. Obviously, the reason for the actual, what are we hope to getting out of the market? And this can obviously include things like if it's just awareness, brand awareness, or if it's we're trying to do a particular, promote a particular product or something. Above the line advertising or above the line marketing consists of advertising activities that are largely non-targeted. In other words, they're not for a particular small target group. So they usually have a very wide reach in terms of the amount of people that they're trying to communicate with. ATL communication is done to build the brand and inform the customer about the product. Conversions are given less importance to above-the-line advertising. In other words, what we're trying to say is that including mass marketing strategies, untargeted, and are focused on building the brand. So the idea is this, that it's not directed towards a specific group. It's trying to just get a large amount of people being aware of us in the first place. And if you consider that when we looked at generally at marketing, one of the most important things to do, especially if we are a new company or with a new brand or a new product, is just getting that information out there. And we see that the process of which people decide to actually buy a particular product. Obviously, we're not talking about the kind of products you would just buy without thinking of maybe a loaf of bread or something, but something that requires a bit more thought going into it. The first thing that we have to understand is that in that process, it's understanding which brands we're actually aware of in the first place. We're hardly likely to consider maybe a Huawei brand when we're buying a new cell phone if we don't know the brand exists. So this is not really to actually get out there the message that you should buy this particular product. It may be just to make sure that the people that are in our market or that we want to communicate to are aware that we actually exist in the first place. So because of this, we're aware that one of the main pillars of marketing is the fact of doing the advertising to get the awareness that we even exist. So obviously this is a very important part. We're not too bothered about trying to get actual sales at this stage. And as you can imagine, the methodology of doing this is very different. Many times you've probably seen adverts on television where the kind of adverts just talk globally about the brand and don't specify or give any information about any products at all. I suppose one of the famous ones was Apple that they did years ago in the 1984 one, which was a prize-winning advert where it was using the H.G. Wells version of the book from 1984, where in the future we were all sort of mindless autonomous, and the only ones that would be breaking out of that would be the people that would be using Apple. And that was it. It never mentioned Apple by name. It didn't mention any products. It mentioned nothing. It was just to get the name out there. Now, an example of above the line promotion, obviously television is hugely popular. An average American watches 4.3 hours of television a day. It's the similar case with the rest of the world. Television advertisements have a reach from local to national, international audiences, depending on the television channel and the contract between the parties. So TV advertisements have a better connection with the user, as moving images with audio are preferred over still images or audio alone. Now, obviously for this, why does that make a specific difference? If you can imagine, when you've seen some of these advertisements, in many cases it's just to give you a global idea of maybe what the product or the company is about, but it can't give you lots of technical information, maybe important information that you would need to make the decision to buy the particular product. For example, if we're purchasing a car, what is the fuel consumption, what is the maximum speed, how does it perform? Though that information isn't there, it's too much technical information to give to television. Television is not ideally suited to give that kind of information. That would perhaps be better off in a magazine or on a particular website where we can sit down and read all the information at our leisure. So again, it's not to really pushing people to make a particular purchase. Maybe you've seen an advert, for example, would say with BMW, and we have the ultimate driving experience, and it shows just a particular BMW driving around in the countryside or in the middle of town. But what it doesn't do is give you the specific details of the BMW 325 TDI or whatever, and give specific information about that product. It's just to remind you of what a good brand that BMW is. Radio. Well, psychologists tell us that consumers need to be exposed to an advertising message at least 3 times before it begins to penetrate. In other words, before we actually start remembering it. No other media other than radio provides such affordability. In other words, it's cheap when it comes to this frequency. So we need to get a message across. If we hear it once, it's highly likely we'll just forget about it quite soon. But if it's repeated again and again, then we're more likely to remember it. So it's a perfect option for marketers to fulfill all the frequency and creative demands of an advertisement. So radio to have a local, national and international reach, just like television, obviously. Now, print advertisement, magazines and newspapers, local, regional, national print, have a wider reach than any other medium. Newspapers have fixed ad slots that are used by marketers to inform customers and prospective customers about the brand or offers. Magazines exist in niches and make it easier for marketers to reach their niche directly through them. Maybe you have a particular hobby that you're interested in. If you're interested in train spotting or something, there's magazines specifically for people interested in trains. So anything connected with that would be in there. If you're interested in aviation, there's some massive magazines for private aviation, or for cars, or for houses, or furnishings, or for fashion, etc. So it's a very good way to reach the people that are very interested in that, and highly likely that the people that you're trying to reach are reading that particular magazine. Now, the advantages of above-the-line marketing, well, it has a wider reach. So obviously it's got a wide reach in terms of it's got a large number of people that it can connect to. It has, in some respects, a better connection with the audience. Mediums like television and radio, audio and visual, so have a better connection with the audience. It also means that when you're giving out this kind of information, you can see motion, you can see movement, you can see the color, you can get a lot of the feeling, if you like, of the brand across, rather than large amounts of text to actually just read about. So it's excellent for brand building. So media advertising is a crucial tool in defining and realizing brand identity. A brand is built by the customer. It's how they perceive it. They're the ones that give the brand value by their perceptions of whether it's a good brand, how it makes them feel, the power of the advertising that is done to them maybe to raise their particular opinions of a brand, and therefore their perceptions are what actually give value to that brand. And obviously that makes the difference in how much they are prepared to pay for a particular brand. So the role of marketers in brand building is to reach as many prospective customers as they can. And obviously, tell them about the brand and the benefits in a creative methodology and using above the line marketing. This is why this plays it's very important when it comes to building brands. Below the line advertising, or below the line marketing, consists of a very specific, memorable and direct advertising activities focused on target groups of customers. Often known as direct marketing strategies, below the line focuses more on the conversion than building of the brand. So in other words, direct marketing strategies directed to a specific target groups and focused on conversion rather than building the brand. In other words, it's to make the difference. We're already aware of the brand, to change somebody's mind either about something or to make a specific action. And that action, hopefully, is to actually purchase something. When we're talking about conversions, ideally, we're talking about purchase of a product or service, but that isn't the only case. It's requiring someone to take some kind of action. It's the difference between somebody who's maybe seen information about, say, global business school, to taking an action, to actually contacting the school and asking for more information, or asking for brochures or specific information regarding courses, or maybe even an application form. Although at that stage they haven't necessarily made the decision to purchase, but they have done a conversion activity. And obviously from now on, they now have a more close relationship with the brand or the product or the business itself. So some examples of below the line promotion: outdoor advertising. Now, outdoor advertising is usually done in big public places and are constantly on display, literally 24/7. So they have a greater and more targeted reach depending on the location. Obviously, if they're in a major city centre or a major square where there's perhaps millions of people are walking by. So they can include lots of different things: flags, banners, wraps, billboards. It can be strange things like this, where obviously this is an advert for Colgate, showing of how much they can increase the brightness of your teeth or the whiteness of your teeth. And they do have a lot of advantages in the fact that they are seen by a lot of people, and people can literally stop and look at them if they're interesting enough. And maybe for something like this kind of advert, it would make people probably remember it more and want to talk about it. It also includes things that are on buses, that are on taxis, they could be on bus stops, they could be on park benches. So they're in places where people either see them a lot or people are hanging around, spending time. And obviously these are very good if you're promoting something on the lines of a movie or something like that, especially with a movie, because it's usually very short-lived. The movie comes out, so a couple of weeks before perhaps they put the adverts out. The movie's out, and a couple of weeks later it's no longer available and it goes off to DVD or streaming. Direct mail marketing. So one of the most personal strategies used by marketers, direct mail. In other words, anything that's going direct to the person. So it's not necessarily the actual piece of paper going through the door, but also emails, text messages, etc. They're tailor-made messages about the brand or different offers drafted according to the needs of each customer. So because of this, the BTL strategy could result in more conversions if planned properly. In other words, they have to be aware of who they are targeting. But unfortunately, this requires a large amount of information. This requires information about the people that you are targeting so that you can make a more focused offer for that person. In other words, tailor-made for them, for the things that they're interested in, and therefore it's going to be far more likely that they will convert. They will do some kind of action, whether it be to give you their email, whether it be to sign for a newsletter, or whether it be an actual purchase. Sponsorships as well. Sponsorships is a partnership with different corporations or events to get more impressions, and is usually carried out as part of a brand building strategy at a below the line level. A good example of this would be certainly here in Barcelona. We have Barcelona Football Club, who had a sponsorship from Qatar Airways. And because of this, it was a partnership, so it was done between two particular companies. Obviously, the football club is a company, and the Qatar Airlines So obviously they were advertising, getting far more exposure and building up their brand because people were able to see the airline's brand on every single football match when it was played with the players, displaying Qatar on their shirts. And they also helped or enhanced the position of Qatar Airways when they used the football players to actually do some of their promoting, even when you were on board the aircraft. The instructions, the safety instructions, were given by the football players. So it gave it a little bit more cachet, if you like, by using that particular football team. Brand activation is the art of driving consumers' action through brand interaction experience. We've already been speaking that it's very important this of taking someone first off with above the line is to get the brand out there, and then slowly from there, obviously it's fast as possible, but normally it's a slow process to take people from brand awareness that are aware we exist to actually get them to purchase off us. It's sort of a funnel. So what we're trying to do is move the consumer all the time through a particular process. So they're aware of our product for a start. Then maybe we'd like to give them some kind of connection to our company where they have an interaction, they have some kind of relationship with us in the sense that we're sending them information on a regular basis. Maybe after that, there'll be something where they will do a trial run. So maybe they will try maybe a free product, and that will lead on to taking the first product. Then maybe over a long term, they will start forming more emotional connections to take through this process that they will eventually become what we're after in the long term is become loyal customers. So the aim of brand activation of these campaigns is to get consumers to act and to bring brands to life via experiences to form long-term emotional connections with the brand that we're offering. In-store marketing. So marketing activities done within a retail store are called in-store marketing activities. These below-the-line activities make use of various points of sale to get the most return out of the investment. Now, obviously, as we can see here, with the Red Bull is a good example because obviously it's something that stands out. It makes it unique. It makes it very visible. And if we've decided we're going into a particular supermarket, we already have maybe some intention of purchasing a particular product, but maybe not a particular brand. So the idea is that with these particular in-store activities, especially something like this, it will alert us to the brand that we should by now already know, and will make the difference possibly between being aware of the brand and actually making the purchase. So again, this is designed to sort of push us over the line of, instead of buying another soft drink, we would buy this particular one, or an energy drink. Sales promotions, which is obviously mostly what we're dealing with here. They're temporary methods to improve sales by attracting new customers and encourage existing customers sometimes to purchase more. Although the offers may be short-term, there is a belief that the trial of the firm's products will create brand loyalty. Now, naturally, sales promotions is not without cost. Discounts and free samples, for example, reduce a firm's profit margin. Sales promotions can be divided into two types. Into the pipeline. Now, we've already discussed this thing about the pipeline of literally where we've got maybe people who don't know that we exist. We want to get them through the actual funnel of where the sales are along the pipeline of how people purchase them during the period of time that they are aware that we exist. So into the pipeline are promotional activities designed to encourage retailers and wholesalers to stock the product. Because obviously the pipeline starts at the manufacturer, then goes to the wholesaler, but they're still not actually been sold to the end user at this stage. Now, from there, they have to then be sold to the end user. But in the meantime, they can effectively being stocked up either in stores or on shelves of companies. But the idea is if we're getting this into the pipeline, at least it's on the way to get to the customer. After all, the more shelf space it's got in a supermarket, the more likely it is that the consumers will buy them. So into the pipeline, where it's being pushed in at the beginning before it's got to the end result of the consumer. So these are promotional activities designed to encourage retailers and wholesalers to stock the product. So these include incentives such as discounts, credit terms, prizes, merchandising and display materials and equipment. Now, as we've seen in the previous one where maybe the promotion was the end result was to get people to buy Red Bull with a mock-up of a Formula One racing car. It does actually give a lot of help to the company that's stocking them in the first place. After all, it's creating something visually impacting within their store that they don't have to pay for. And maybe it's going to promote a lot of people buying that particular product. And as we're probably aware, certainly in the case of Red Bull, it is more expensive than other energy drinks. And therefore, proportionally, the company selling those, the supermarkets that are offering them, will make proportionally more money. Now, the out of the pipeline, as you can imagine, these are coming out from the other end. So these are promotional activities carried out by manufacturers to encourage customers to buy in greater quantity. Now, these can include incentives such as discounts or free gifts and samples, what we call bug off offers, buy one, get one free. Doesn't always necessarily mean 100%, but it may mean you buy one thing, you get something else of a lower value for free. Also, vouchers and competitions. And then, as we've seen in the other one, the point of sale promotions. So they're mostly done to promote to customers in retail outlets. So there's special displays that we've seen in the case of the racing car. And maybe it includes demonstrations or sales presentations where you actually have somebody there offering someone a free sample to try something, or it shows how to use the product. So these can be combined normally when these are giving out as combined with other special offers like vouchers and restricted to the store that they're doing this in. So the idea of that is to actually encourage someone to push them to actually purchase something. Now, the advantages of below the line marketing. We've already said that these things aren't free, so there is a cost associated with them because you have to effectively you're giving something else. If you're giving some discount, you're giving away some of that profit. So let's have a look at the advantages. Now, these are very targeted, extremely targeted, so the conversions are better when the communication is done according to the customer wants. But that obviously requires that we need information about those customers. So since below the line marketing are extremely targeted, because of that, because we have the information beforehand, results are better in terms of conversion. So we're getting the amount that we're getting out there, we're being able to get a conversion of activities or actions done, including purchases, to a much higher degree than if we're doing blanket advertising and above the line on a television advert. Now, because of that, generally speaking, we get a better return on investment. Below the promotion efforts are focused on specific target groups. In other words, those that are more likely to be buying our stuff. So they have a better reach and can be easily executed, tracked and controlled. So generally, these things provide a better return on investment. Easy control. The return from these activities can easily be tracked and monitored. Because we have a particular number, we have a limited number of where we're going, we can see the throughput of people and the percentage of those that are buying from us, which is not possible to see this when we're doing television advertising. We may have some idea how many people are watching the television advert, but we don't know how many of those that are watching have bought that product purely because of that particular advert. So it's very difficult to monitor this. It's hard to know how much extra we're getting from it, but these kind of things with below the line marketing, we can. If we know we do a particular offer within a store, within a particular period, previously we have sold 5,000 units, but with the new promotion that we've been running in a particular store, we've sold 6,000 units, then clearly we've had a 20% increase, most likely because of that particular promotion. So it's much easier to actually monitor and control. Now, these are designed to be tailor-made. Below the line advertisers are designed basically to take into account a specific needs of a specific target group, and they should obviously be modified for different customer groups. So maybe in many cases you're offering a product for a larger group of people, but if you're doing a particular promotion in a particular area or particular channel, then you have to focus those benefits on those particular people and what it is they're looking for. Through the line advertising or through the line marketing involves the use of both above the line and below the below the line marketing strategies. So the recent consumer trend in the market requires integration of both above the line and below the line strategies for better results. In other words, through the marketing involves marketers to create marketing campaigns which include both above the line and below the line strategies. So it refers to what we call 360-degree advertising, where campaigns are developed with the visible building as well as conversions. So not only are we after building brands, but we're after actually if we consider the whole a holistic approach, where we're after the whole market, we're initially after building up our brand exposure so that more people are aware of the brand exists, but at the same time, we're after trying to get people to purchase our products. And don't forget, at the end of the day, whatever we're doing, we still need income. We need to generate revenue. We need those sales. And we need them as soon as possible. We cannot spend too much time just building the brand without actually converting people into real purchasers and buying stuff off us so that we can keep this advertising campaign going. Sales promotion comprises a range of tactical sales and marketing techniques designed within a strategic marketing and sales framework to add value to a product or service in order to achieve specific sales and marketing objectives, which sounds very good, but if you think about it, it's lots of things that we can do. It's not one specific thing, but it does have to work within the original marketing plan. So we have to be very careful with this, because obviously there's certain things that we're hoping to do and hoping to achieve, and we have to have it's part of it. When we were looking at the marketing mix, there were so many things that were there that interact with each other, although it's the four things, but as we've seen, it's far more than just four basic things now. And those four things do interact with each other. So if we change one thing, then obviously it's going to have an effect on the other. So we have to be very careful of this. The ultimate objective of the purchase, if we're doing a sales promotion, is to influence the recipient's feelings, beliefs, or behavior. Now, we already said that one of the things we're after is to actually create some action within the consumer. So that is a change in behavior. It may be that previously didn't want to buy for a specific reason. So in order for us to get that changing behavior, for him to or her to purchase the product, to actually make the action of purchasing a product, maybe it requires us to change the consumer's belief that our product is either a good product, or it's a cheap product, or it's a valuable product, or whatever it is. So it's to do these things, it's to change feelings, beliefs, and finally, their behavior in terms of actually taking action. Now, the targets that we're looking at, they can be a variety of people. They could be the end user, those that we would assume to be the consumer of the product. But they may also be middlemen. In other words, it may be the people that are taking the product from the manufacturer. They're the ones that are selling it onwards. So they can be targeted for various reasons. First off, for them to take the product in the first place, to stock it on their shelves or to stock it in their store warehouses to pass it on. And also, within that, we'll have the organization's own sales force. So the company that's maybe selling to them or selling to the end user, they are effectively still intermediaries as well. So it's got to be targeting those so that they are aware of the benefits and target their customers. In other words, the targets can be our own sales force to motivate or incentivize them to sell to middlemen and or end users. So it's a little bit more complex than just selling to the person who would be the final consumer of the product. Now, designed to supplement advertising and coordinate personal selling, it can include the following. So contests for salespeople and consumers, trade shows and exhibitions, in-house displays and demonstrations, samples, free trials, premiums, where you get something extra, gifts, coupons, or cash rebates. Consumer sales promotional tools, demonstrations, those where you've seen they have a large stand in a supermarket and they show how the product works. Competitions, sweepstakes, games, premiums, free with a pack or free on the pack or free mail-in to get something. Events, a club for repeat buyers, money back guarantees, joint promotion, which could either be with another company or with a complementary product or with the charity, reduced value packs, extra value packs, coupon vouchers with cash value, cash refunds, maybe a collector series for people who want to collect different types of the product, point of purchase displays, and of course loyalty rewards. So we're going to have a look at each of these briefly, and then we can go into more detail about what we would actually offer later on. But it's to give us some idea of how each one of these works. And again, don't forget, all of these things that we're doing are part of the sales promotion. The sales promotion itself is part of the marketing plan. So every time we do any of these, we have to make sure it fits in with the image, with the kind of message that we're sending out with the marketing plan. Now, samples, they can be the most effective, but they're the most expensive way to introduce a new product. Now, in many cases, depending on the size of the product, if it's just a small sample of something, then we're going to use it up. But sometimes a sample can be given in and can be done either on a short-term basis. In other words, it's a trial. So maybe what would happen is you offer a trial, either an amount or a time of the product, that they can have it. Now, this is normally through salespeople. This is what's known as the puppy dog effect. Some years ago, it was very common to be selling these water filters. And instead of drinking regular tap water, you could filter it and you would get cleaner, nicer tasting water. The idea was they would give you one, they would give you a free trial for a month or something, and after that month people didn't want to uninstall it and take it out and have to go back to drinking the bad tasting tap water. So it was a bit like getting a puppy dog. If you give somebody a puppy dog and they get used to it and they like the animal, they don't want to give it back. So it's the same thing with that kind of product. So offer a trial of a product. Some samples are free, some aren't. So it may be delivered door to door, or it could be sent by mail. It could be attached to another product or featured in an ad. If it's attached to another product, maybe with the same company, you bring in an additional product out with something you already sell. If you're selling, previously we're selling shampoo and now you're selling hair conditioner, then it would be seen as a free trial to try their hair conditioner whilst you're buying the shampoo. Coupons. There's little pieces of paper that you can cut out or you can print up. So vouchers giving buyers a saving when they purchase usually a specific product. Now they can be mailed, they can be in ads or be included with other products, and obviously they're online as well. And they can stimulate sales of a mature brand, so those that we already know, but also early trial of a new brand by giving a coupon usually for a specific amount of discount or giving you some particular benefit when you buy them. We will be looking more in detail in the cultural aspects of this, but again, coupons, how they are used and seen varies from different countries of how they're viewed. Maybe it's considered that it's a bad thing that only poor people would use coupons in a particular culture. In others, there's no particular stigma with using coupons. Price packs, so reduced prices offering savings off regular prices of products. So usually reduced prices directly on a label or a pack. In other words, 2 for 1, or you buy 5 and you get an additional one. Maybe 2 related products bundled together, and that is again very effective at stimulating short-term sales. It gets people buying them. I worked for a particular publications company, and when they were having difficulties selling their magazines, what they actually did was sort of bundled them up together and sold them as a pack for about the price. So 3 for the price of what previously would have been about 1.5 of the original just for buying 1. And it worked for a while, that they were able to get rid of an awful lot of old stock. So it doesn't actually work. But again, only for a limited time. In this particular case, the promotion lasted about 9 months. And after that, sales even of the packs started to fizzle out. Premiums. So goods offered either free or at low cost as an incentive to buy a product, and then may come inside the package or outside the package on pack. So if reusable, the package itself may serve as a premium. In other words, if you have, instead of buying pack of cookies just in a paper wrapper may come in one of those very decorative tins. So it's something extra. It's something that you can then use afterwards, or you can keep maybe as an ornament. Although in my case, my wife actually uses them to store her sewing things, so they can be used afterwards. Sometimes they're mailed to consumers who have sent proof of a purchase, e.g., the top of the box or the packaging or a label or something. Loyalty rewards, cash or other rewards offered for a regular user. Now, obviously, the one that I suppose that first comes to mind with loyalty ones, and certainly the experts in this, were the airlines. With their frequent flyer and loyalty cards for specific airlines. Because if you can imagine the amount of competition that there was, they had to give something whereby that instead of every time somebody was going on a flight, as flights and people taking flights was becoming more and more often, the consumer was not going on one flight a year, but they were taking 4 or 5 or 6 flights a year. They wanted to be able to cash into that people had already signed up maybe for them once. They wanted to keep those. So what else could they offer? So obviously they would give them additional benefits if they stayed with the particular airline. Now, I may have told you in a previous course, I can't remember if I've done it on this, but for example, it's considered up to 5 times more expensive to get a new customer than to keep an existing one. Therefore, if you have a customer, especially with something like an airline, they've turned up once, you don't want them going somewhere else. They've had you as a customer, they've obviously taken the flight. Let's see if we can keep them rather than have to start all over again, getting another person each and every time. So obviously the advantage was people would build up miles, especially those that would use the flights more and more often. In other words, it was more beneficial to the company for customers that were using their products and services more often. So it meant that they could build up more and more miles till eventually, because of their loyalty of staying with one particular company, they were able to then, after 5 or 6 flights, get maybe a free European flight. So very good for trying to keep the loyalty for airlines. And since then, it's now been passed on all the way down to supermarkets, where every time you go to a regular supermarket, which generally speaking, most of us probably do go to the same supermarket, but it's just a way to keep us going to one specific one for all the additional points that we can build up and maybe certain benefits we can get afterwards. Right, advertising specialities. So these are useful articles imprinted with an advertiser's name on it. We've seen these things. In fact, the school here has them with the pens where we have the brand of the company on there. We have the mugs and the calendars and the key rings, etc. So there's those kind of things where the merchandising, if you like, that can be given out. So we give these as gifts. So they're free to the person, but then it's a way for them to remember our particular brand. So maybe the next time that you need something where there's been you need a particular product or a service, you have the pen to hand, or you see the calendar, and there, every time you look at the calendar, there is the address of maybe the plumber or the electrician or whatever, or a taxi service. It's always there. So you're more likely to just use that one again. If you have it on a keyring, it may have the name on there, so you're reminded all the time of that particular brand. Obviously, it doesn't work with everything, but it certainly works with maybe the kinds of things that you may need on a habitual basis or occasionally on a repeated level, and to have that name available there for you. So the loyalty rewards, well, the rewards are linked with obviously the loyalty card. So there we have cash or other awards offered. So the ones we've already mentioned, when we have the Delta, the Sky Miles. So the more times you fly with them, the more miles you start building up. We have the supermarket club card here from Tesco's, similar thing. Every time you buy, you get some points, and those points can then be traded in for products or for certain discounts. And of course, if you have the card, you have a certain element of special privileges maybe within the company when you go there, that they're offering discounts only to those people that have the club card. We have another example here. This is a company called Misguided. So where they're giving you a particular bonus to refer another customer. So in this case, it was a refer a friend promotion with the tagline, "It's good to share." So you get 20 euros off for you and your BFF. So get your best friend forever shopping at Misguided. They'll get 20 euros off their first order, as long as it's over 60. So it's not like they're going to get something completely for free. And once they've shopped, then we'll give you a 20% off yours. Now, it does sound like they're giving an awful lot away. Very possibly they're giving away a large part of the profit of the product, but they're not actually giving the product away. So they're doing this with what intention? It's an investment, if you like. They're giving away maybe two jackets or something, or the profit from two jackets, not the cost of the jackets. They're giving away the profit, but just to then have you more likely to shop there again, because you've got that just for referring somebody. And also, a new customer now has come in, maybe that's never purchased there before, and maybe we'll start to build up their brand loyalty towards them. But we also have point of purchase promotions. So these include displays and demonstrations, and they may be tied in with television advertisements. In other words, it's when you go into the supermarket or into the store, the place where you would actually buy the item, there may be a huge thing there to promote you to buy something. So competitions, they call for submissions of an entry, a suggestion, completion of a sentence or a jingle or something, and that will then be judged by a panel to see which is the best one. Sweepstakes call for consumers to submit their name and address for a draw. So again, they get information of you. So it goes into a draw whereby you could win a free product. Now it will be free, and we've already spoken about the rules and regulations of doing this. Lotteries, where you buy tickets to enter names in a draw, or games, bingo, fill in missing letters or answer some simple questions. So these are all different options that can be done at point of purchase promotions. Now, sales trade promotion tools, which are these things often forgotten about, because obviously the trades do want to get you to sell as well. So credit, extended credit. In other words, the company that's buying off the company, the manufacturer, they get maybe an extended credit. So it means they're able to take the stock into their stores to be able to sell onwards. And maybe if they do a good job, they can sell them quicker or sooner, get paid immediate payment, and then may not still have to pay the company in the first place for some time. So it could greatly improve their cash flow. Maybe some free services or training. Maybe a club for special customers. Again, it's an extra thing to get people more interested, or competitions. Free samples. Discount on bulk purchases, which is very normal. Discount for early payment or trade-in offers. Sale or return. In other words, if you buy it and you don't like it, you come back, or you can return the product and you don't pay for it. And again, loyalty bonuses. The Salesforce promotional tools, these things to get the Salesforce that are going out there talking to the customer, to incentivize them or motivate them to actually get out and sell more. So maybe if they sell a particular brand or a certain amount, they could get coupons, vouchers. Obviously, commission is more of a normal promotional tool anyway, rather than have sales staff on a regular salary. Commissions are designed exactly for that they get them to sell more, they can earn more, and there's no cap on their particular salary. But maybe with doing a particular promotion that for a certain period of time there's an increase, or particular product, one particular product has a higher commission rate or can be paid quicker or sooner, and it's a good incentivization for sales staff. Competitions, incentive programs, free samples, free gifts. Again, free samples so that maybe they can actually give them out to the customer, enable them to get more customers as well. Maybe a bonus scheme. If they sell over a certain amount, they get an additional bonus, or a point system with a gift catalogue, anything like that to push them forward to getting something else. And also a club for high achievers. It's remarkably interesting to note that and I've worked with a lot of sales staff, a lot of salespeople, and it does actually work, that if they get some kind of recognition, if you like, for achieving a certain level, it goes a long way. It's certainly considered very valuable that those that want to do it, when people meet up, it's a question of pride if they're in a high achievers club because they have some pin or something, and it's impressive for them, and they want to be able to impress other people. One company I was with actually used a little, like a little badge with diamonds on, and they were real diamonds. Obviously, not terribly expensive one, but they did have a diamond. So every time you achieved a certain level, you were a one diamond. If you achieved a certain level much higher over a particular period, you became a two diamond. And people were very proud of these marks of achievement that they were wearing. I don't know the actual price of each one, but maybe it was for a one star was somewhere in the region of €100 perhaps, but that person had probably generated thousands of euros in profit for the company, and to give back for them something that they could wear permanently that would cost €100 was incredibly little in comparison. So the purpose of sales promotion, well, it's to attract customers' attention more than anything. Maybe if they're already been aware of us with a promotion, we understand that they with above the line marketing, they're aware that we already exist. But this is to attract their attention and give some information, maybe additionally, that may lead to a purchase now. In other words, the additional information could be the fact of the discount, and that would hopefully lead to a purchase. But it has what we call short-lived effects. It doesn't tend to last very long. Because if we keep a discounted value going for a longer period, it's then not actually seen as a discounted sales promotion. It's considered to be the real price of the item. So it's no longer discounted. It's now become that's the regular price of the product. Also, it offers strong incentives to purchase by providing gifts or bargains. For example, magazines, you're giving something else with it. You can invite and reward quick response. In other words, an incentive to buy it now. For example, the first edition of an expensive magazine is cheap. It's so they can find out what the product is and actually get it for the first time. And they're getting something very valuable. The idea being that they will purchase afterwards. There's a lot of television promotions going on where they sell things like they have these kits to make classic cars or motorbikes or ships and things, and there are actually hundreds of units that you have to buy to finish up with a full-scale model. But what they do is the first edition, just to get people started, is given at a ludicrously low price, something like €1, with the intention of actually getting you into the cycle of being able to buy all of them. And it's not until you reach the second or third one you realize that they're 10 or 12 or €15 a week or a month, and it can work out quite expensive. So although it's very good to boost short-term sales, it's not generally effective in building long-term brand awareness. So a free sample stimulates consumer trial, and I mentioned this before with it was a sort of a shandy kind of a beer, and I was given a free sample, and it then meant I would go on to start buying it, certainly as a trial basis, and then later on a permanent basis. A free advisory service cements a long-term relationship with a shop. In other words, they've always got someone that they can call up on that particular brand. Sales promotions used to attract new buyers, reward loyal customers, and increase repeat purchase rates of occasional users, particularly markets where brands differ greatly. So it can be, it's for all kinds. It can be very good as well for when we have customers that are not very loyal and switch from brands. So it's a way of getting at least some money out of those that maybe we wouldn't have otherwise. Now, new buyers include users of other brands and frequent brand switchers. The problem is if those, depending on the kind of thing that we're offering, if we're expecting them to stay with us for a long time, it's probably not going to work. They're mostly looking for low price, but switchers rarely become loyal brand users. It's these people that when somebody phones up from another telephone company, from Movistar, Vodafone, they will switch. Oh, there's a great offer. I'll definitely take part in that. And they sign over to the new one. But a few months later, somebody else phones them up, Orange phones them up, and they switch to the other one. So the benefits of you to use them are lost. Right, to other purposes of sales promotion, to gain a trial for a new or improved product. So again, free sample. To disrupt existing buying habits. In other words, a coupon that is offered to make you buy far more. Normally you would buy maybe one or two or three, and this is a way of buying maybe in a dozen. So it's to change your particular buy habits. To attract new customers. So for example, we have rail cards or £50 free when you open a student bank account. To encourage greater use by existing customers, so frequent flyer programs or frequent guest programs in hotels to make you go back always to that same company. Maybe to counterattack a competitor's promotional campaign. Don't forget, they are doing this all the time as well. And to increase buying, impulse buying. For example, you see these very impressive displays, and maybe we wouldn't think of buying, say, the Red Bull in this case that we saw earlier, but because of this magnificent display that we have there, it would promote us to buy something because we've seen it now in such a focused way that we hadn't noticed it before when it was just on the shelf. So why target shops on promotional campaign? Well, it's motivating the retailer, the store itself, to carry new items and more stock. Now, certainly for us as the company, what tends to happen in most cases, if we're the manufacturer or the supplier, we are probably getting paid after a certain amount of time based on the amount that the store buys off us, not the actual sell-through rate. In other words, not after they have already purchased onwards. So we want to make sure that it's ideal for us that the stores carry more stock. Why? Because now we can invoice it, it's counted as a sale, and they have it. So in other words, we want to motivate them to carry more stock of the things that we're producing. The idea is tempting retailers to advertise your product for you. In other words, in their particular store, they're giving your particular products more shelf space, and more likely that more people will see it and buy it. And then persuading retailers to buy and stock as well, especially in advance, which is why we have Black Friday. We have Black Friday, which is at the end of November. Now, maybe most people won't buy stuff for Christmas until a week or two before, depending on how their payment is, or maybe they get paid at the beginning of December. So the ideal time for them to buy stuff for Christmas might be the 7th or 8th or 9th of the month, and depending on what day the changeover falls. But if they can stock up in advance, in other words, they can get the stock there in November and people will start buying it in November, then they will still have more sales earlier and then still keep the sales going for a longer period. Why is it good for the shop? Well, it builds goodwill and a working relationship between the shop and the supplier, those that are supplying them. They're working hand in hand, so they've got more of an opportunity of selling. It moves the old stock. And it's not just something that's tired and dead on the shelves. So they like things that are more exciting. It prolongs the selling season, especially where things are seasonal. So maybe instead of it just being a very short-lived thing, it can be extended a little longer. In the case of Christmas, they can extend it instead of it just being 2 or 3 weeks in December. They can take it back for as far as the middle of November. And it also adds a bit of excitement and interest into the store, makes the store more interesting to look at. It's more interesting for the people to come in and look at things within the store. So again, it can create a little bit of excitement for the consumers, which obviously is good for the store. Now, the promotion, the effect on the business. Short run orientation, coupons and trade discounts produce quicker sales results, but obviously because of these things, they can be expensive. Now, builds brand loyalty. Hopefully that's the idea. Again, a lot of people these days are less and less loyal to brands, but this is what we're hoping. So there's some competitive pressure. If the competitors offer price reductions and coupons, your business may very well feel forced to follow and do exactly the same. And also, state of the economy. If you can imagine, if interest rates are very high and we're in a crisis situation, well, this makes the consumers far more price conscious. In other words, it's much more important to the consumer to actually kind of save money on regular things maybe that they feel they have to buy. And the retail selling quality. If more retailers are offering these kind of displays and information, and these are very good effective promotional tools, and they're available at the point of sale. So it's actually the quality of the sales process and making it much nicer for the consumer and also for the company to show these. So it's great for the company to have these kind of things in their stores, and obviously it's much better for the consumer. However, um, it's not as easy we'd like to think. It's sometimes quite difficult to generate something that really is a new and creative idea. The thing we saw about the car made out of cans or boxes of Red Bull is a good example. It was very good and quite creative, but it's quite difficult to come up with things like that. And the problem is, it's far too easy just to copy what somebody else has already done. And if you've done a good job of doing something, it's too easy for somebody else to just copy your idea. So again, you've got to have something that not only is new and creative, but really it can only really work for you, so that your competition can't just copy exactly the same thing. In the case of the Red Bull option that we've just seen, it would be difficult for Monster to copy that because Monster isn't involved in Formula One. So they have something there that maintains the uniqueness of the promotion. So you need care to ensure the promotion does genuinely offer extra value and incentives and isn't misleading, and discounts that they're getting will be honoured, and the things that you're offering really are true, rather than just claiming that there's a certain discount or there's a certain promotion going on when really it's just moving the figures around. And things for businesses to consider. The sales promotion must be carefully costed out before deciding the size of the incentive, whether it can just be done on a local scale or a national scale. How much is it actually going to cost? There can be a huge cost of offering these kind of things, and what response are you going to get? So a minimum incentive is necessary for success. A larger incentive will produce more sales, but a balance is needed to induce customers to experiment and tempt lapsed users to buy. While too large an incentive could lead to regular consumers heavily stocking up during the promotion, causing profitability to decline in the medium term as sales drop after the promotion period. For example, buy one 3 litre Coke and get one free. It's 100%, and this actually happened. The most notable one that I remember was the Pampers, the nappies people. The company was supplying a chain of stores, and every 3 months there was a massive build-up of requirement for stock. So every 3 months they wanted three times or 4 times the amount of stock for 1 month, and then the month after sales dropped again for 2 months, and then shot up again for another month. And obviously, based on what the product is, it's hardly likely that the consumer, the children that were actually using these things, were actually using up more nappies or diapers, depending on where you're from, and that were actually pooping 3 times as much every 3 months. So what was happening is the store was doing a particular promotion where they were selling 2 for 1, and the consumers were stocking up on them purely when they were on promotion. In other words, they were buying a lot of them to stock up for months on end sometimes, by effectively getting them as cheap as possible, store them at home, and then not buy them at the regular price. So it was good to move the stock initially, but it just meant that the rest of the time customers were not buying them because they are a premium product. They were not buying them because they were waiting for the discount to come up before they would stock up on them. Now, also, maybe you need requirements, proof of purchase, and there has to be a specific closing date of the offer. You may need to decide how to promote and distribute the promotion program itself. For example, the media they're going to be used. If it's a money off coupon giving out in a package, actually within the packaging, or it's at the store, or they have to apply in for it, or it's cut out of an advert. So each distribution method involves a different level of cost and reach. Who, where, and do you want to target? And the duration of the promotion. If it's too long, it could lose this act now force. That will be lost because the people think, well, it's all the time. Why bother having to get it now? And it's easier for the consumer to respond to an offer the higher the response rate. Now, immediate gratification is a free gift attached to the product or a price reduction. Now, that often gives a higher response because there's less for them to do. They get the benefit immediately. And incentives requiring further action, e.g. to make another purchase or collect required number of tokens, then post off to a claim to get a free product, often reduces the redemption rate. For example, with cereal boxes, newspaper, DVD offers, etc. Because it's too much hassle to go through, especially those when, in many cases where they put the little stickers on the card, most people will not ever get to the end of the 10 or 12 that they have to get to. And now, evaluating sales promotion. Why? Well, to judge whether the activity met the set objectives, those objectives that we had at the beginning in terms of the amount of sales or whatever it was, to discover how effective it was, e.g. the Hoover incident that we spoke about earlier, where it was far too popular and it cost them an absolute fortune by giving away those free tickets. To identify whether there are any lessons for the future. What have we did right? What did we do wrong? And obviously compare sales beforehand, during and after the promotion. And maybe conduct some surveys. How many consumers recall the promotion? What did they think of it? How they took advantage of it? Did it affect their buying? And are they still buying the same products now because of that? Or did they switch back as soon as the offer had finished? And this gives us an awful lot of information for our next sales promotion. And that is all for today. So that's exactly dead on the hour. So thank you, and I shall see you next week.